And I don't know why you would do this job if you didn't care about other people.
How do I gently put this? It's not so much some providers' mindset of like, I want to look good. I want to be able to know what meds to give and why not to give them and be the smartest person in the room. It's so much more than that. It is the patient care. And if you lose that aspect of like putting a blanket on Meatball, just the tiny little things like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Something that kind of gets me when I start feeling a little burnt out or like I've worked too much overtime, like I will next week. I have to look at like going in the, I don't want to say the gas station because I don't want to call anybody out. I think that would be rude, but looking at these other jobs and I'm like, you know what? I get to go drive around, listen to music, run these calls. And if you're complaining about running calls, like it's not every call. There are some calls that it's like, oh God, here we go. Right? Yeah. It's the third time this week. But at the same day, can you run a 12 lead on me?
Oh, don't get me started on that one. That woman over there.
But like, if you're sitting there complaining about going to calls, just go home. Turn in your patch. Like you are literally at that job, paid to do this job, to run calls. Are there some days where I just want to like go post somewhere, turn our location off, and hope they forget about us?
Yes.
Yeah.
And play a little Pokemon.
Get my Nintendo Switch out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are definitely days like that for sure, I believe. But you know, it's a huge thing as a mentality. I literally had a conversation with the person I worked with yesterday about compassion and why we do this job. You know, she's very compassionate about everything. You know, I love to see that in this field. I don't think I see it as often as I'd like to see it, which is sad. But when I get that one person that I'm like, holy cow, you are a compassionate person, don't lose that.
Yeah.
If you lose it, my biggest advice is step back. I'm not saying quit your job. I'm not saying throw the towel in.
No.
I'm saying step back, pick up a hobby that's not related to your job.
Facts.
You know, for me, I love to go fishing. You know, it's crazy. I hate doing the worms and everything. But, you know, for me, if I'm getting super stressed out, if I've had a hard day at work, if I've, you know, just done study, and just everything in my life is like crammed into one thing. For me, if I step back and just go out on the water, I don't have to go with anybody. I don't have to. If I do go with people, I go with people that I know that they understand if I don't want to talk and I just want to sit there in silence and just enjoy the water. They're down for it, you know? So finding a hobby outside of EMS that's not related to it, reading, that kind of thing. You know, I don't like to read, but if I like to, I'd love to read just on the side. But it is huge not to lose that compassion you have for people. That's what makes us good, I guess, employees, good hard workers. Like that compassion is the bridge to being a paramedic and being a decent human being, I think.
Yeah. And that ability to decompress, I think a lot of the burnout that starts happening, and there are phases, just because you get like burnout doesn't mean it's forever. Yeah. But for me, it's like, I feel like when you go to calls, even when like you think it's going to be absolute nonsense, and then sometimes it turns out to be no nonsense at all.
And you're like, oh crap, okay, never mind, let's do this today. Let's go.
Like when me and my partner, we had some call that we were going to, and we're like, man, like whatever. We get there and just I don't remember why. I was just like, I'm gonna run a 12 lead. And I ran it as we were getting closer to like our lower level ER. And I ran it and I called the hospital. I'm like, hey, I'm seeing some really funky things. It's not a STEMI, but it's really funky. They're like, don't bring her here, go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh God.
Well, when in doubt, do that totally.
It takes 5 seconds. But so you have like this pressure on these calls, and then like you get these crazy calls that like it takes a lot out of you. Yeah. So even if you're going to that call and it's like, man, this is gonna be dumb. Like, I don't know why we're here, all this stuff. You have to have in your mind, like, it could always be something else. It could always escalate into something. So it's a lot of that pressure with it. And over time, it kind of gets a little overwhelming. Yeah, for me. So I think in the cusp of paramedic school, one thing I learned the hard way was like I wanted to sit and study for X amount of hours every single day because I was so scared I would either forget something, not understand something, which kind of happened a lot, but it's okay. And then throwing in national registry, just it was a lot, but I would have to have periods of time where I was like, I need to study today, but I can study a little bit more tomorrow. And today, like I can just go outside. I can see sunlight.
I want to see the sunlight today, please. Thank you.
Like a lot of paramedic school was literally like opening a door and being like, what is outside? Who are these people?
I'm going back to society for the day. Bye tomorrow. We'll see you for like 2 weeks. So, yeah. That I think for me, I'm the total polar opposite. I'm over here like, I'll be honest, I have had those days where I'm like, all right, cool, I'm done. Like, I'm almost done. Like, I have a couple more months. Then I have registry to take, I'm like, cool, awesome, great. And then, part of me, it's like, no, like, this is huge. This is you about to put on your big boy, big girl pants and you running the truck yourself.
Mhm.
Like, you can rely on your EMT, but you can't. Like, you want to, but you have to remind yourself it's you now. So for me, it was like, I have to remind myself, hey, like, I got myself into this. This is what I want to do. Do I want to complete it? Yes. How am I going to complete it? I have to sit down and I have to study, and I'm not saying I sat down and studied for 4 hours and straight. No, I, studied 20 minutes, take a little break. And I'm not saying take a 2-hour break. I wish. I mean, it's happened before, but
it's inevitable.
It's inevitable. But like eventually, like, as I got used to being in paramedic school, as I figured out how to balance my work, personal, and school life, I figured out, all right, we study for 40 minutes, or we take a 10-minute break, eat something, drink something, walk outside for 2 seconds, go play with the dog, like for me, that was it, and then I, sit back down, whether I'm sitting at a desk or I'm laying in bed and just reading the book. I don't like to read, but I force myself, put music on in the background, and I'm like, all right, I got this, let me just read this book, read it from top to bottom. Do I want to do it? No. Have I found it helps me to read the whole book top to bottom? Yes. So.
Well, you can only go a certain amount of time, like studying, reading things, listen to whatever lectures and stuff, looking up videos on things until your brain is just like done and you don't retain anything else. So like, yeah.
It's like, bye. I'm checking out for the night.
That's SpongeBob meme. All right, I'm gonna head out.
Exactly. I'm going to head over and let's go. Yeah, no.
Turns into the little like faded ghost. You know that one?
Yes. Exactly. That's how I feel some days.
Okay, so you said that you kind of like struggle with cardiology a little bit. I feel like everybody does, just because it's so huge and there's so much and
there's so much information and so much things they want you to know. It's huge.
What topics or like subject areas, like what's been your favorite? When do you feel like you've like got under your belt?
Oh, well, so, be honest, OB.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
Look, I'm not saying I don't hate it. I hate it, but I understand it the most. That and probably airway.
Well,
I mean, if I had to choose out of the two, I would probably say airway the most. Just because it's fascinating me, and it's the first thing we learned after pharmacology was airway.
Yeah.
And our instructor for airway is a respiratory therapist. So he was very
that's amazing.
And he was like, "This is the information." Like at the time, I'm like, I just need to know what the paramedics need to know for airway. But looking back at it and looking at my notes I have from him, when we're doing these hospital clinicals and you get your respiratory therapist come in and be like, "Oh, this is what's going on." Oh, dude, I know what a respiratory therapist would probably do now. Like, this is your treatment. Like, obviously we can either protect that airway, intubate it, that kind of stuff, or drop a king tube. Like, or I gel. We don't use king tubes.
No, I was about to say.
I gel,
hate king tubes.
I know. I listened to that other podcast about it. But, yeah, it's, I think airway and OB were my two favorites. OB, I look at it as One, I didn't like I like the subjects of OB, it's very grinding and there's a lot you need to know because one, you're not only having one patient, you have a two patient,
Yeah.
which is a lot. But the fact is, we see a lot of sad stuff in this field. We see a lot of, sad stuff. We see a lot of I would not say darkness, but death. Obviously we do have patients that die. That's part of the job. But it's not every day you get to help deliver a baby. And hear that first cry. That is amazing. That is probably the only time it's brought tears to my eyes on the job. I've cried. And of course, I'm wiping my eyes, hoping my partner don't see this shit, cause it's all right, you never cried. I'm no, dude, that was amazing, so I'm glad I've experienced that, one and done, I'm good.
We have two very different mindsets. The first baby I ever delivered, I literally dude, we got underneath the ambulance bay. We got so close. And she was like, I gotta push. I'm like, can you wait 5 seconds, please? And I was I'm literally at her knees. We're very up close and personal. I'm like, go ahead, baby, push. We pulled up under the bay and the baby comes out. And I just remember sitting there holding this baby. And I was and I'm APGAR, here we go. And I'm
yeah, oh God, I have to do the APGAR now. Okay. You look like a 9, I guess.
You look great. Good job.
Here, Mom, here you go. Congratulations. It's a boy or girl, whatever it was born as, I guess you could say.
It's I literally I'm sitting there, I'm kneeling in these fluids and I'm grabbing the little blanket, wrapping this child up. And then I was scared because I'm what if it's not warm enough? So I'm holding it. I look at Mom, I'm do you want to hold your baby? And I couldn't give her any pain. She was no. And I'm I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. So I'm trying to keep this baby warm, holding it. And I'm
oh my God, just super fragile. Yeah, no, that's how me and my partner, we got the opportunity to deliver a baby. Actually April 14th. I don't remember it. It's a great day. I loved it. Now it was very interesting. Mine was completely different. She was, it's her first pregnancy. And, she wasn't due for a couple more weeks, so we're okay, a week and a half or so, not a couple of weeks, but a week and a half or so. And, she had no complications. She's in, sitting in the bathtub and she's literally, we see the head, and my partner just looked at me. She goes, are you ready for this? And I'm we didn't even start OB. We just started OB. And I'm but you know what? OB is an EMT skill.
No, straight up. That's what I told my partner when we pulled up. I'm if we would have been on scene, that would have been all you, baby, because
that's what she told me out there. She goes, yeah, you're catching the next one. I'm that's fine with me. I can do that. But, she delivered this baby girl healthy. I had a giant bruise on my underarm because that's where she grabbed me. And I was just squeeze my arm when you need to.
Oh.
And of course ours went a little more south because the power went out. So we're doing this in the dark it's the 1700s. I have kids in the house holding flashlights up like this. And but we delivered that baby and it was a holy shit moment for me. I don't know if you allow cussing on this thing. It was a holy cow, we just, Mom, you did all the work.
Right.
You did everything over here. But I was holy cow, the fact that we got to see it, experience it,
it really is.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But the fluids and what we like to call baby cheese all over my partner. She was not happy. She literally told me, you're delivering the next one. And I'm that's fine with me. I can deal with that. Don't bomb it, please.
I've never heard baby cheese. With our baby delivery, we had picked this girl up that morning because she was having cramps and she's I'm gonna have a baby. I forget when she said it. Was the next week, 2 weeks, I don't know. So I'm they might keep you. I did a little check.
Yeah, sure. You know,
I was like,
all right, we're good.
I was like, we're gonna get very up close and personal. I just want to make sure. And she was a little dilated. So I'm like, they're probably gonna keep you here. Plot twist, they sent her home. We didn't know that. My partner wakes me up. It was at a system where we did 24s.
Mhm.
She wakes me up. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. So she opens the door. She's like, hey, that girl's having her baby. I'm in La La Land, waking up, and I'm like, oh,
what?
that's great.
That's I didn't know you been to the hospital. We're talking like you got her number. Wow, okay. Like this is a great day. Congrats to her.
So from the door, she's like, no, it's our call. Let's go. And I like it clicked. I'm like, oh God, here we go. And I'm like grabbing my boots, grabbing my shirt, getting to the truck,
before you get on scene and deliver this.
slapping my cheeks. I'm like, here we go, here we go.
Yeah, like little chipmunks. What was that movie? Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Dude, on the way. So this is during paramedic school. I was so scared of delivering a baby. And I still, honestly, after that one under my belt, I'm not going to finish that because we work in 2 days. But please no.
Would.
But on the way to the ER, like the girl, she's pushed as much as she can, she's not crowning or anything like that yet. So the girl's mom rode with us. So grandma was there. I reached over because grandma's kind of freaking out and I held her hand. And so we got to the hospital with mom and baby, all this stuff. She's like, thank you so much for comforting me, that it really made a difference. I was like, it's no problem. It's part of the job. We get back in the truck and my partner's like, you held her hand? I was like, I didn't have the heart to tell. It wasn't for her. That was for me. I was so scared.
I think I love it that, we do that kind of thing. They think it's for them and we're like supporting them and we're like, no, like in reality, you're supporting me right now. Like I need the support. My partner's driving it and she can't or he can't give me that support I need.
Right.
So congrats, whether you know it or not, you're my support system at this moment. So if I have to hold your hand or give you like a slight little hug, it probably is for you too, but it's for me. Like it's mostly my issues going on right now. Like
There's some calls. Like when I start humming, Danny knows like it's getting bad.
Absolutely.
So sometimes I'll look at a patient and be like, hey, everything's looking good. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it, blah, blah, blah. But it's also so I can hear myself say like, everything's looking good. We're doing great.
I think a lot of people kind of have, I'm not saying they hum, but like when they're like kind of like, oh no, like I know what's going on and I'm like, kind of moment. A lot of people have like their own ways. For you, it's humming.
It's humming.
I know that for sure. It's humming. Now for me, it's that leg tap. I'm like, oh boy, like here we go. Like, do I need to get ready to run or something? Like, my heart's racing. Like you get that adrenaline. And for me to release it, you got the humming. I got the leg taps. And I'm just like making beats over here. Like, this is a really weird song, but I can match it to a song I know. So let's just make some leg beats real quick, so.
It's a big reason why we play music on the way to calls, because whatever that last song is, it doesn't matter what it is or what they say.
It could be the Barbie theme song and you're
Not Joe.
Yep, I'm telling you, that's what it's like with this one.
There's not a lot of thought that goes on. I know how to do my job. I'm very professional. I know what I'm doing for the most part. Not going to get cocky. But everything else is kind of just like it's word vomit or like action vomit where I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. It's something I can do. Let me just see if I can help you with it. So here we go.
I mean, it's a good piece of EMS advice. If you don't know what to do, just do something. Because sometimes
don't stand there. Just don't stand there and look like you're an idiot. If you don't know what you're doing, BLS is your false safe for sure.
Especially calls where it's like,
or comfort care.
Hold my hand. Squeeze my hand. I'm sorry. No, but anyways,
that's another story.
So like if it's a patient where it's like I've done all the things, there's nothing really else that I can or need to do. It's kind of the hospital needs to come in, do labs, do blood work, all this stuff. I just go and I'm like, I'll just check another blood pressure.
Check another blood pressure. You always do vitals again. If anything, start a conversation.
Yeah, I love getting to know my patients.
Just talk with them. I love those like memas and I guess papas that you're like, oh, you've been married? How long have you been married? Yeah. And what's the secret? And I've had some people be like, oh, it's just patience, blah blah blah. But I've had that one mema that'd be like, I just put the knife down when he starts talking. And I'm like, oh, what? She's like, yeah, I just put it down and listen. And I'm like, oh man, are you homicidal?
That's what I was about to say. There are programs to help her husband.
We have things we can offer you. The hospital can offer you something. Like we can go through this action. And I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Blink twice if you need help.
Yeah, let me know. I can say something. I promise. I will say something if you need to. Or like I love this old gentleman. He actually passed away a couple months ago.
Oh.
And he was like, yeah, I was married for 60-something years. And I was like, I asked him every time I saw him, and I was like, hey man, like, I know you tell me it's this is the secret. I know you told me that, he's like, in reality, he's like, you can have so many secrets to how to love somebody. You have to do it. And he's like, for me, he told me, like, it's just, I just sit there and I listen to her. I enjoyed listening to her. And I'm like, you don't get that a lot.
No.
So if you get those, memas and papas and grandpas and that kind of thing, ask them, start a conversation. They have a ton of life advice. They've lived so many years longer than I have, than you have, than these listeners have. And they have so much advice, and whether you listen to it or not, it's fine. But at least you heard it and you know it.
Yeah.
So
knowing what you know now, what's some advice you give to someone who wants to go into paramedic school?
That's good. My biggest thing, don't stress about it. When you start, don't stress about needing to know every little thing. The saying they didn't make rum in one day is huge. You're not going to be a paramedic after day one. There's so much more you're going to learn that you don't learn in class. You're going to learn on the job. You're going to learn it during training, or your preceptor's going to teach it, or you're going to learn it years later. Be always open to learning things. It is a huge thing, I believe. Be open to when you have a paramedic that you may or may not like just because of personality or history with them.
Yeah.
But they teach you something and they explain things. Be open to learn things from everybody, because they're going to teach you things that they've been doing for how many years they've been a paramedic that they have learned, and it's going to be major. So be open to learning. Don't stress about becoming a paramedic in day one. That's not going to happen, and have fun is a huge thing. Have fun. Enjoy the people you're in class with, because those people, whether you like it or you like them or not, they're going through paramedic school too.
Mm-hmm.
They have personal lives, whether they work full time or not, they work. We're all in the same boat. So enjoy it, have fun, enjoy doing your simulations you do in your classes. They can be fun, but they can also be a real game changer when you learn. And those people that you go to class with, they're your support system. You can have your partner with you that can teach you, but is your partner coming to the same class as you?
No.
Those people in that class, they're coming to class whether they show up late or not. That's another story, dog. But they're coming to the same class and they're experiencing the same test you're taking. They're experiencing the same thing you're doing. They're going to be your support team. Get that study group going.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you study once a week with them, every other week, or at least before final exams, you may know something that they don't, and they may know something you don't, and you can exchange that information and share things. So I think that's my biggest advice to people is be open, don't stress, and have fun.
No, you don't have to know everything from day one. That's what I think it was pretty early on in the paramedic school. Honestly, it might have even been half, where the certain things were clicking, other things I had to go back and study.
Yeah.
But I got the syllabus or whatever, and I would look farther ahead, and I'm like, oh God, I don't know that right now. Or I would be on clinicals, and it was something that we hadn't covered yet, so I didn't know. And then my preceptor, whatever you want to call him, was like, it's okay. You haven't gotten there, you'll get there. Just remember this moment, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, you're in a student learning environment. This is the time to learn it. Don't worry
And
about
ask
like
questions.
that's a huge thing. Like, whether like our program does clinicals in the ER and ICU and that kind of thing. So that is huge. Ask questions. Like if you don't know something and you're going through class, write them down. Like get you a book that has all these questions, whether they're stupid or not. They're questions that you can ask to preceptors, to doctors. A lot of people that I've noticed, they're scared to talk to the doctors. They're scared to talk to the residents. They're scared, that kind of thing. They just want to sit there, get through that 12-hour shift and maybe do like 5 IVs. Like that's not what we're here for. We're here to learn. We're here to practice everything we can practice. Even if that's BLS skill, splinting is a BLS skill. How many medics can you tell me that know how to splint to this day? Exactly. I'm not picking on you,
Okay,
but I'm telling you, it's a skill that you may have to use because your partner's busy doing something else. Like if they're bagging the patient, like, are you going to take over bagging? No, you're the one that has to lead this call. So why not just splint real quick and resume the leading the call? Like, so talk to the doctors. Get to know your area's doctors. Get to know the residents. I know residents don't stay at that same hospital, but you know what? You may never know if you're going to come across them. You could go and move to, let's say, Minnesota and, work up there in EMS, and you're going to see a resident doctor that you worked with down in the ER over here. And you have that relationship connected. You're building relationships in that ER. You're bringing a whole mess of a patient, and you're like, I did this, but I know they need more. Well, that facility, when you build that relationship with them, are going to be like, okay, we understand what you're doing. Like, we understand your mindset. Give us the patient. We got it. We're not mad. We can take care of this. Good job. If they don't give you the praises, I'll give it to them. Good job to everybody that can do it. But, it's always about building a relationship. This is the time to build relationships with the classmates, with the doctors and the nurses. They get to know you. They trust your abilities. And they understand that you know what you're doing. Is huge for me.
The thing you said about asking questions, I was that person that was scared to ask questions. And I had one preceptor he was phenomenal. He was like, I hate that I use this phrase all the time. He was stupid smart. Like it was talking to him, you would never know.
Yeah.
The most Cajun man I think I've ever met in my life, but he was so ridiculously smart, was a flight medic, was teaching all these classes. But there was one point where I was like, hey, I got a stupid question. He was like, there are no stupid questions. And he was like, shame on you for saying that. And I'm like, no more shame. And he was like, no, like, this is the time to ask questions. Because he's like, when you get that patch, you pass those tests. He's like, who are you going to ask? And I was like, more fear.
Thank you for putting that kind of fear into me again. I thought I passed that part with EMT, but never mind. No, yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and especially when you get your patch, you have a support system in your company, hopefully. If not, find other medics. Find other medics, whether they work for the company you work for. If they don't, everyone here is here to support each other.
Yeah.
I can go ask, someone I don't work with, I may trust them, I may not, with my family member, but I'd be like, hey, what do I do for this? How can I treat this? And, if they are a willing paramedic and they care about what they do and they care about the future of paramedicine and those who are coming into this career, like eager, like little kids on Christmas Day, they're going to teach you. They're going to explain to you. You may not know them, but you build that relationship when you ask those questions, and they're like, oh, this person is willing to learn. This person wants to learn it now. So
with all of that, it's been a broad range of everything paramedic school and beyond.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to throw in?
Have fun. Enjoy it.
There are times I don't miss the test and the national registry fear and like all the other things, but I really do. Like there were times I wish I could just go back and sit in there.
Yeah. Come on. You can come to my class. Okay, come adjunct with us. No, yeah. With all that being said, have a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy it. And you're going to look back on it and be like, holy cow, how many years ago was I in paramedic school? that was the greatest time. Like, whether you hate it now or you enjoy it now, you're gonna have those memories. You're gonna have those people you go to paramedic school with, that whether they work with you, you work with them. You have that support system no matter what. And don't be afraid to learn. It's a huge thing. Don't be afraid to continue to learn after you get your pass.
Thanks.
That especially if you're an EMT and you don't do well in paramedic school and you may fail out of a portion and you have to retake the entire course, that is okay. It took me 3 times to take A&P. And just keep going to it. Like, if you want that goal, strive for it. Keep going, keep learning. The times where you're not in school and you're waiting for either the next session to go, or you pass school and you're just doing your own thing at this point, don't be afraid to learn. Read articles, go back and read your books. There may be things in that book that you're like, oh, I didn't realize was in this book, so don't be afraid to learn more, have a blast. It's a fun time. I cannot wait till I get that patch. I'm scared about it, but I think everybody else is scared. My mother's scared for me. Oh no. No, I'm kidding. She is so excited. She tells me daily, she's like, I'm so proud of where you come from and where you've gone. You're gonna be great. And I'm like, Mom, I'm so glad you think that. I really needed that today, or I needed that a couple of days ago. And, I think that's a huge thing is whether, for me, my family fully supports what I do. If you don't have a family that supports that, you have an EMS family that supports you.
Facts. Yeah.
I can tell you that probably all our higher ups and supervisors at our company was so excited when I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to paramedic school. And they're like, go for it. And I get asked by our top dog at our company, how's paramedic school going? You need anything? And I'm like, I'm gonna need a day off.
A snack.
I want a day off. That's all I really want is 1 day off, 1 week sometimes. But
same.
You're gonna have that, and it's fun. I have not regretted doing it now.
Yeah. So one last thing I want to add. With all of this, if you're listening and you're an EMT and you don't want to go to paramedic school, that's fine. If you got through some paramedic school and it just didn't work out, honestly, there's no shame in being like, all right, well, that was cool. Done.
Bye, I'm going home.
Yeah. I'm going to catch a nap for once. And then there are paramedics I know that are, I would say they're better than me. We were in paramedic school together, but they're way better than me. One of them, he failed registry the first time. And then he had to take it again. And he was like, I don't know if I even want to do this. I'm not cut out for it. I'm like, bro, it's a test. Yeah, it's testing to see what knowledge you know. And you need to study for it. You need to pass. But that doesn't determine that when you get in the field, you're going to know what to do. Because like you said, I think the biggest thing for after paramedic school is to never stop learning and to do your best. And
yeah.
So that's all I wanted to add.
I liked it. That's good.
So with all of that said, if that's all you got, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
And how we end every episode. So with that,
the 22 at the Lips podcast is designed to support, not replace, the relationship that exists between a practitioner and his or her medical director. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host, guest, and not necessarily of Master Medics. The information provided during this podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for your approved protocols.